Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Chee-Tash. My name is Chris, and today we're just going to continue along with Look Out on Parenting here, the survival guide for the single parent. Almost done with part two here, getting through the day. So all the main events of having a child, all the main events of the day as you are raising up your child. Today, we're talking about the perfecting the magic act of dinner. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a relatively short episode, guys. Last time, if you remember, we also talked about dinner and how to gather everybody for the feast. So we talked about just what the family dinner is and comparing the family dinner to breakfast. And we had that one episode on talking about how to get a decent breakfast for your kids, most important meal of the day. But breakfast has like a different, besides maybe like a Sunday breakfast. I remember Sunday breakfast being really big in my family because usually like everybody was around on Sunday. So that's when we would have a big group of people. Normally during the week, it's like people wake up at different times. People are in and out the door. Some people don't even eat breakfast like me. So dinner is the one time where you have most of the time you have everybody together on a nightly basis, and it's like at the end of the day, so you can review what happened during the day, the positives, the negatives. You can get a glimpse into what is going on in your child's life, etc. And fast food culture kind of eats at that, kind of just, hey, we'll just eat whenever we want, or there's no preparation into the food, so you're not eating as good of food really most of the time. Um, it, Ted just really highlights how important the family dinner is. So there's just a couple things that Ted brings up on how to make your children ready for dinner, for this very important special moment of the day. And the first thing he says is you just don't want to snack your way into an oblivion. Don't eat your way out of dinner. Don't before dinner. So your children are definitely going to have different metabolisms, right? They're probably going to be hungrier a lot more often, right? It's going to seem like they can just eat whatever they want and they're not going to gain weight. They're still going to have tons of energy, be bouncing off the walls, whereas as soon as you eat a chocolate cake, it's going to go straight to your hips. But with kids, they're going to be constantly craving things. So just be sure that don't give in to their demands, try to hold them over as best as you can. And you can do that by portioning things. So instead of just sending them off with a box of goldfish crackers, maybe you only send them out with like a cup of it, right? Just like fill up a little small cup and then that's all they get before dinner time. So that way they still have an appetite come dinner. Next, Ted talked about preparing a special place for everyone at the dinner table. So there's no drama at dinner. There's no infighting amongst your kids, amongst your family on who sits where, because this could cause unneeded tension, especially if you go out in public too. Because again, usually what happens in private is also going to end up out there in public unless you address it. So just to cut down on all of that, make a special place for all your kids, all your family, assigned seating basically. And I think it'll get your kids more excited for dinner, that they have a seat at the table. Like it's going to show that, hey, I'm sitting here with all the adults of the family, right? I'm sitting here with I have an investment in this family. Much like with the chores, you're teaching your kids, hey, you have an ownership stake in making this house a home, not just for you, but for the entire family. Next, set a pre-eat routine. So you're going to have to teach your children when dinner time is not necessarily by the clock, but by physical cues. So whether that's telling them that, hey, start cleaning up, start washing your hands. Hey, if you can help me put out the silverware, napkins, tables, if your kids are old enough and able to do that. That way it signals to them, oh my gosh, okay, I'm getting primed and ready for dinner time. Up into dinner time, number 4 here, remove all distractions. Phones, tech. This really, it's pretty much, Ted here just speaks to like tech. Technology, please no music, phones, tablets, video games, even toys. Toys too. You want your toddler focused on dinner. You don't want to be at the dinner table all night. You just want them to focus on eating the balanced meal that you've hopefully prepared for them, and hopefully they finish that meal. And in regards to finishing that meal, helping with children getting excited about the food that they're going to eat, Ted advocates for the 5th point here, the last point, make it special. So this doesn't necessarily, have to mean making this taste special. You're going to do your best in that regards, and it's hard because children's palates are very different. We're going to talk about that today. But make it special in like the presentation. Ted said that what he would do is he would, instead of cutting up sandwiches in like the typical like straight through, like squares, he would do it in triangles, different shapes. He would maybe, and this doesn't even have to be for food. You could get different colored napkins, different colored plates. Just change it up. Like get your children, pique their interest a little bit, and it's going to rub off on them in the food. In that, what am I trying to say here? And it's going to rub off on them, and they're going to get excited about the food and hopefully finish the food, eat all the food, so then they don't have to snack later and ruin their appetite again, and then it's a whole vicious circle. But that was last time, guys. Today, perfecting the magic act of making that dinner disappear. So rule number 1, you got to understand their palate, like we were just mentioning moments ago. Toddler's palate is going to be much sensitive than yours as an adult. So Ted brings up, like, think about baby food and how bland baby food is. I'm kind of new to this. Like, I don't think I've tried baby food since I was a baby. But I can imagine that, yes, the people who create those products create it for their certain clientele. They're not creating it for you. They're creating it for the toddler, for the baby. So they're going to make it taste a certain way, right? Because the toddler's got to eat it. So you have to realize this going into it, that they're going to have a different palate than you as the adult. I can speak to this, like how I used to hate anything green. I used to hate. I didn't want to touch salads. I didn't want to touch vegetables. Broccoli, cauliflower. I didn't want to touch those things. I just wanted, like, hey, just meat, carbs, bread. Beans were okay. Rice was okay. Pasta, yeah, mac and cheese. But anything salad, spinach, I didn't want it. Onions, no. Nowadays, I love that stuff. All of it. Like, I like spinach and onion. I like kale. I just had some kale the other day. I had broccoli yesterday for dinner. But, it comes with time. And Ted says this in the chapter too. Your toddler's going to need time to adjust to new foods. So take it slowly. Don't make them eat a whole plate of broccoli, but again, portion it out. Start with just like one piece of broccoli. And then maybe in like a week or two, then you can up it to 2 pieces, right? You just got to be mindful of how much of a shock to the system a new food is going to be. But you got to make sure that you do it because it's your responsibility as the parent to help your child achieve a balanced diet, help your child achieve all the vitamins and minerals they need. And they're not going to live by bread alone. I mean, nobody can really do that. So understand their palate. Next, present in small portions. We kind of just alluded to this. So you set small increasing milestones for your toddler. Like I said, you start off with 1 piece of broccoli, then you go to 2 pieces of broccoli in like a couple weeks, and then 3 pieces in another couple weeks. It's just small increments, small baby steps, no pun intended here when you're talking about toddlers, no, baby steps. But the fact that you're serving them these small portions and something different, it's going to teach them not to eat the same thing all the time. They're going to eventually get used to the fact that, hey, we're mixing in all these different foods. So they're going to see, hey, it's important to have this balance. Like, okay, yes, we're going to eat this one day, but then the next day we're going to eat something a little bit different. Again, man can't live off just bread alone. So it's going to show them, it's going to be, again, like the building blocks we've talked about with when we were talking about organization, in setting like the fundamentals of being clean and organized in a household. This is the same thing. It's going to set those building blocks for having a good diet, balanced diet, eating fresh vegetables, fruits, healthy carbs. I mean, you don't want your child eating keto or anything like that, or fasting, anything like that. I wouldn't do that. But it's going to set them on that path to make wiser choices in the future. And last but not least, be patient and persistent, because you can expect a lot of failure at the dinner table. A lot of times where kids aren't going to want to eat what you give them. They're not going to want that broccoli. And Ted gave some tips on how to combat this back in that Soups On chapter. If you guys want, go back and take a look at that episode. But basically, whatever they don't eat, you just store it away, and then at the next meal, you bring it out, and you mix in the food that you want them to try with the food that they love, and say, okay, here's the food that you love. You can have that once you have a bite of this. And you just keep just etching the goalposts from there. But you don't give in. You still have to be persistent, but pleasantly persistent, being patient with it. And you just have to know that as a parent, you're going to be underappreciated. You're not going to be liked. Sometimes you're going to be hated, but you know that deep down that instilling good diet habits with your kids is going to pay off dividends in the future. So you know deep down you're doing the right thing. Even though it might go down, you're not going to be your child's biggest fan in the moment. But you should try to accomplish this healthy food goal. Again, start off small, a few times a week. Maybe then you can up it to 4 times a week, and then 5 times a week, and then you just keep increasing it from there. But it's your responsibility. It's a thankless job as a parent, but again, you're not here to be a best friend. Remember, we talked about that in Teddy's tips. You're not a friend, you're a parent. Expect failure. Expect underappreciation. Expect hatred. But when it's all said and done, expect love. Guys, that was going to be it. See, I told you this is going to be a short episode. We are going to have the blog post out, so I'm going to link to the blog. In the description here, you'll find the blog post for this chapter. Next week, or next episode, we are going to talk about bedtime. So how to get your kids in bed and get a good night's sleep. And then we have Ted's section 3, part 3 of Ted's book, which is life lessons. So kind of like Teddy's tips, but some specific things in your child's life, given some lessons for those things. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I really, really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and check out the blog. check out the blog. Like I said, I'll include a link in the description. Big things coming. We're close to being done with Ted's book, so we're going to have another book coming out, another book that we're going to start. And I'm really excited because I think I know which one I'm going to do. And I'm excited. We're going to get back to, I know, the parenting stuff, it's not getting a ton of views. I get it. I really want to honor Ted, and I wanted to do this book, and I think it was really cool that he wrote a book. So we're going to finish it, and we're going to move on to other great books. So thank you guys so much. My name is Chris. This has been Chee-Tash. Take care.